Hi, everyone, and welcome to another Roofing Contractor Walls and Ceilings Legal Insights. I'm RC editor Art Eisner, and I really appreciate you joining us today, whether it's by video or if you're listening to us on our podcast. As usual, I'm glad to be joined today by Trent Contney of Adams and Reese. Trent, as always, so happy to have you here and to walk us through some of the biggest issues going on in the roofing trade. How you doing today?
Doing great, Art. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about. It's been a busy week or so.
Okay. Well, speaking of that, you recently gave a public talk that included some good information on payment and performance bonds and how that's affecting contractors. What's the issue there?
Sure. So, I'm very fortunate I get to speak all the time and, to various trade associations and, other organizations. And one of the things that's really affected a lot of contractors lately has been the supply chain issue. I mean, we talk about it on almost every single episode. And as part of that, a lot of contractors are seeing more and more claims that are related to performance bonds and scheduling, right? We're seeing claims being asserted by owners and prime contractors, general contractors against, roofing subcontractors and other contractors, performance bonds because they haven't delivered the material on a timely basis. Therefore, they're delaying the project, right? Now, performance bonds, for those that don't know, what they do is they basically say they, for lack of a better word, ensure that the project is going to be completed, right? It's not like insurance, but it's a guarantee that that project is going to be completed. And if it's not, then you claim the performance bond. One of the things that we've seen from sureties is that traditionally they've been hands off, but over the last year or so that's changed, and they're taking a very active role in these type of claims. They are requiring, proof of financial capability from their principals, from their contractors. They are requiring collateral in some circumstances. They are hiring their own counsel. So one of the things that I talked about in this presentation was to make sure that you have a very good working relationship with your surety agent, that you are in close communication and are spoon feeding the information as needed, and that you're giving that surety every assurance that you are in command of the problem and that you're doing everything you can to remedy it, because you don't want to be paying two attorneys to run that case for you. You don't want to be posting collateral or doing any of those other types of things if you can avoid it.
Well, it sounds like in this circumstance, those sureties, which are normally an ally, can now kind of be turned into, I don't want to say an adversary, but just something that another owner's item that contractors will have to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely. And, one of the things I talk about at sort of the conclusion of the presentation is be very careful about signing contracts with PMP, payment and performance bond requirements. It is required on a lot of larger projects, but there's a lot of problems with claims these days. So this is not a gimme. Make sure that you're thinking about it. Make sure that you're thinking about the potential risk. Almost every single contractor that is in a payment and performance bond relationship, the owners have had to sign personal indemnification agreements. Now, I don't know about you, Art, but I think twice before I got to sign anything like that. So.
All right. Well, if you do, then I certainly should. This trend primarily affects contractors in the commercial space, but after that talk, what was your sense of how aware contractors are of this problem, or will they get to know this problem pretty soon?
Yeah, they're not aware of the problem until it happens, and it comes as a big surprise and shock. But we've seen it consistently happen on the last dozen or so projects, and once or twice is an aberration, but a dozen times I'm seeing a consistent theme. So the message out there is, a surety is not somebody that it's, a lot of contractors treat sureties like lawyers. You don't really want to talk to them unless you have to. And I get that. But the one thing that you want to make sure is that if you have to get involved in one of these types of claims, be proactive. Be proactive. Get out in front of that surety. Make sure that they know that you're in charge, that you're all over the situation. Don't give them a reason to doubt your capability. So sitting on the sidelines and doing nothing is a surefire way for that to happen.
All right. I did want to switch gears a little bit. We all know the opioid crisis is a big problem in the construction trades and much further beyond that. There was recently some federal guidance delivered that you think could have a big impact on the industry. Let's break that
Yeah,
down.
absolutely. So, recent federal guidance talked about the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, that basically talks about when medical conditions and other things you have to provide reasonable accommodations. And part of that, they reaffirmed some of the previous guidance saying that, look, if somebody has an opioid use disorder and they end up seeking treatment or in some kind of recovery option, you can't discriminate against them for that. Okay, now let me just clarify something. If somebody is high on opioids during work, there's nothing under the ADA that prevents you from taking action, right? Safety always trumps any of these laws as it relates to drug use. But what they are saying is if that person seeks treatment or recovery, you have to be very careful about taking adverse action against them because it could potentially be protected by the ADA. So if you are in a situation like that where you're looking to take action, make sure you consult with legal counsel before you do it.
But it sounds like this is an area that a lot of contractors may not have experience with because simply opioids are kind of in a class of their own when it comes to the legal aspect, right?
Right, absolutely. So it's something that, it was even a few years ago was routinely prescribed. And, regardless of what industry you're in construction, you got aches and pains. And you may legally be entitled to, be on them through a prescription. The key thing that you want to just make sure is that if they have some kind of abuse problem or disorder and actively seek treatment or recovery, regardless of whether it's through an employment sponsored plan or if it's out on their own, think about it before you take any kind of adverse action. That's the key message here, is that the government is trying to underscore the fact that this is an epidemic, and we've got to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to encourage employees to get clean.
All right. Trent, what else are you getting calls about this week?
Yeah, so the pro-union push by the Biden administration continues. And, when we saw some of the big legislative acts kind of get stalled, one of the things that you and I talked about, Art, was that they were going to start using more, federal agency executive order type action. Along those lines, the National Labor Relations Board, NLRB, has indicated that it will seek to get rid of captive audience meetings, which are where employers can have their employees come and they can talk about why not to unionize. This is in line with some previous legislation, the PRO Act, and is definitely favorable to unions. So something to watch out for there. There will continue to be these pro-union type pushes from the Biden administration.
Got it. If those meetings are halted, are there other legal avenues that employers can take to at least present their side of the information?
There are, but the problem is that they're starting to dwindle, right? It's making it a lot more difficult to openly communicate any anti-union sentiment. And one of the things that I really encourage employers and contractors out there is make sure you understand what the current lay of the land is, because it is constantly changing, as it relates to labor law and union law. It's something that, you have to keep abreast of, because especially under this administration, stuff's literally changing every week.
Right. Folks at Starbucks and Amazon are learning that right now, kind of the hard way.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Good advice there, Trent. Where can people find out more? How do they get in touch with you?
Sure. They can contact me at trent.cotney@arlaw.com or go to adamsandreese.com for more information.
All right. Well, thank you again for your insight and all you're doing for the roofing and construction industries. Before you check out Trent's website, be sure to explore roofingcontractor.com and sign up for our free e-magazine and e-newsletters so you can stay on top of the latest news and information. For our walls and ceilings audience, please also visit wconline.com for comprehensive coverage of the interior construction industry. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.